Hey, what's up? I'm Tyler Wysong. In this video, I'm going to show you a 3-step process with some game-changing vocal exercises and show you how resonance is your superpower. Let's go. All right, so part 1 in this 3-step process is how to find a super resonant ah vowel. This part is absolutely crucial, but part 2 and 3 are what bring everything together. Okay, so in order to find a really resonant, ringy ah vowel, we're gonna do an exercise called tongue out, tongue in, and this exercise was shown to me by an amazing voice teacher named Chadley Ballantyne. Okay, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna start with the tongue out, just resting over the lower lip. And you're gonna make this kind of sound. Okay, and what you're gonna do is you're gonna pull that tongue back in until you find an ah that just lights up in the palate. Right there for me, it seems like the ah just kind of activated, and it seems like it's kind of in that junction between the hard palate and the soft palate. Now, an important part of this is that resonance, or your voice perceptually, seems like it flows through the palate and doesn't get stuck at the palate like it's hitting a ceiling. Okay, so that is part 1. Now let's move on to part 2, which is the magic vowel modification. Don't worry, in part 3, we're gonna put these together and you'll see how this creates this amazing resonance all throughout your range. All right, so this magic vowel, as I call it, is kind of like an eh shape on the inside of your mouth and with your tongue, because look, what happens typically is on an ah, for example, on the top of that arpeggio, we tend to drop the tongue back and down, which can create a lot of issues with resonance and registration and all other sorts of things. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna teach the tongue that it doesn't have to do that, and in fact, just do the opposite. We're gonna do a slight fronting of the tongue, which is gonna help get a better match with that second resonance or the second formant. So as a reminder, the first formant is this one, which is E-A-E. So that's the second, 2 different melodies, and they're both being played at the same time. What we want to do is we want to find a good match between that second resonance and the third harmonic. So here's what you're gonna do. Start with an eh, and I'm just making slight modifications with my lips toward an as in book, and I'm noticing that is high into the front. So there's kind of this warmth up in my forehead. And this is definitely Ken Bozeman's idea of putting the dark part of the sound in the front and the bright part behind the dark part. So we're kind of flipping this paradigm. I will say both components of the sound, both timbral elements to the sound, still feel relatively frontal. They both always feel in front of the ear somewhere. So that's important to be looking for as you're playing with this. So when you find this vowel, maybe take this one on an arpeggio and just see how easy this one turns over. Like nothing. So that kind of modification, the magic vowel modification, for tenors is going to become much more important around like F sharp, basses and baritones around E flat or E. And for the ladies, that's going to become important around G sharp A. You can keep that in mind as you're working on this, especially when we put this together in part 3. Okay, so now I want to move on to part 3 and show you how you can put this all together. But I did just want to mention, if you like this kind of systematic approach with exercises like this, I did make something for you called the 4 Laws of Vocal Technique. It's a really incredible online course that focuses on the 4 key components that I believe are the most important to developing efficient vocal technique. If that's something you're interested in, I have a link for you down below. Okay, on to part number 3. Let's put this together. So we're gonna start with this tongue out, tongue in, find a bright resonant ah vowel, and then on the top pitch, we're gonna modify to our magic vowel, that kind of thing. Now, in this exercise, the way we're doing it, it's going to be more of a deliberate modification, but in actual performance, and as we go on training this in, you don't want your audience to know what you're doing. You want this to be very subtle, but nonetheless, it does need to happen if we're going to find a good match, again, with that second resonance and that third harmonic. And here would be the first resonance between 1 and 2, like this. What tends to happen would be something more like this. What we want to happen, this. So let's do a few and let's tie them all together now. You see? So you see how that works. This 3-part process is amazing and it is game changing. But if you're still struggling, make sure you watch this video on mixed voice and the 80-20 rule. Until next time.